Hi, thanks everyone for joining today and the first of a three-part series with Pure Storage. I'm Charlie Otis with Pinnacle Business Systems. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of background on Pinnacle. We've been in business for 36 years, work with Pure Storage since the very beginning of everything. So from the time that they started out, we are headquartered in Edmond, Oklahoma. And as I mentioned, been in business for 36 years, working a lot with companies in data center, of course, network infrastructure, as well as cybersecurity. We can help you integrate complex solutions, streamline business operations. We have people across the country and work in many different verticals and sizes of companies, including state and local government, K-12, higher education, as well as commercial accounts ranging from small business all the way up into large enterprise and Fortune 500 companies. The format today is webinars, so there won't be any voice capabilities. However, you can use the Q&A section. We'll be monitoring that through the webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to keep this very interactive. Put those questions in there. I will either respond, Ryan or myself will respond to those directly in the Q&A itself, or we will take, and I will kind of pause with Chris and we will go through and ask those questions in line as time permits. At the end of this, we will have also a 5 or 10 minute Q&A time to where we can go through and you can ask any questions. With that, I'd like to introduce Chris Sprague. He's the principal technologist for Pure Storage, and we're going to be talking about Pure Accelerate and some of the announcements from the conference last week. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it. And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we're going to go over Pure Accelerate announcements. There's a lot of exciting announcements, so we'll get in as much as we can. Like Charlie said, keep this interactive. Use the Q&A panel. I'll be happy to answer questions if I can, and get into a little deeper if there's anything you see that you want to know more about. Right. So I figured since you needed to, or you have to sit here and listen to me for probably the next, 45 minutes or so, I'd introduce myself a little more. Already mentioned my name, Chris Sprague, principal technologist for Pure Storage. But what does that mean? Essentially means that we focus on the portfolio or the entire platform that Pure has to offer. Kind of a generalist across all the different disciplines that we do. And that also means I get to get out and evangelize Pure Storage to, great customers and partners that we have here today. But even more exciting to me, and probably more important, is evangelizing what we hear in the field, what customers are needing. I get to evangelize your voice back to Pure Storage through product management and engineering, who we meet with as a principal technologist team at least weekly to give that feedback. So if you ever have things that you'd like to see or requests for enhancements, please let your field teams know, and they'll chat with me and we'll make sure to get those in. So I've been at Pure for 3 years now. I was actually brought on 3 years ago as a data protection expert, where I came from a data protection background and one of our background partners, Veeam specifically. And then about a year ago, I moved into this principal technologist role, like I said, where I get to speak about everything, including data protection. So that's been great. And then just some pictures here of my family and my kids. I'm based out of Boise, Idaho. I guess I haven't said that yet. My son goes up to University of Idaho, which is a bitter in-state rival. So that's, a discussion for another time. And then you can see my daughter and her fiance there, and then my wife and myself with our youngest that's still in the house. So with that, let's just get jumping into it here. So one of the big key elements of what we talked about at Pure Accelerate this year is that it all starts with the Pure platform. We've had great products in the past. If you're familiar with Pure Storage and our all-flash arrays, and I'll get into a little bit of what differentiates, Pure Storage and NVMe flash from other flash. But whether it's our flash arrays or our flash blades, we've had very simple, the simplest to use storage products, as well as the fastest. And we're really turning that into a platform to ensure that you have your storage needs where you need it, when you need it, right? So whether it's on this platform works on premises, public cloud, hosted in a co-location. And as part of that platform, we've really built it out to work as storage as a service. And I'll get more into that, how we can do managed services, provide you storage that you own, operate on premises, but can act like storage as a service or a cloud operating model where all the onus falls on Pure Storage. Including effortless management at scale. Everything we do at Pure Storage is the foundation is simple. When we were founded, our original product, cause our founder wanted all of the instructions to fit on one business card. And so they did. They were able, you could set up an entire Pure array with instructions on a simple business card. And then all of it is underlined by the Evergreen architecture, which I'll get into more. But Evergreen to us really means continual non-disruptive improvement, right? Seamless experience, no more lift and shift, no more forklift upgrades, zero planned downtime. I like to say a lot when I talk on the data protection side is that you're going to buy a platform today and in 10 or 20 years from now, it's going to be better. You're going to have faster controllers. You're going to have more dense storage. So you purchase an investment today that gets better over time. So here's kind of the ISOR chart of a number of things that we announced at Pure Accelerate, and I'm going to go into each of these. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, please use the Q&A, and we'll get deeper into each one of these. But some of the big announcements we made was expanding the innovations on the platform. So we'll talk about the next gen automation that we're bringing, as well as AI Copilot. And then we made some announcements around AI in the enterprise and how we're kind of changing how you may purchase storage for AI if need be. And then we have a great cyber resiliency practice. Like I said, I was brought onto Pure Storage for the growing data protection and cyber resiliency practice. And we just expanded it exponentially here at Accelerate. And we'll get into some of those different SLAs and assessments that we've brought to the table. And then again, I mentioned the storage as a service. So we've brought some more SLAs around storage as a service and kind of a one-of-a-kind as a service offering that we provide and have all the onus, like I said, on Pure Storage around those SLAs. So that's kind of the overview. I'll touch on each of these, like I said, and please put any questions or comments into the Q&A. So let's talk about those industry first innovations in the Pure Storage platform. So one of the first and most exciting ones we brought to bear is Pure Platform Fusion. So this is a first of its kind storage automation. And you may have heard the name Fusion in the past, but we completely redid Fusion into a brand new platform this year. So what this is a automation to control your entire fleet of Pure Storage arrays, no matter where it lives. And I've got another slide, we'll talk about that. There's no separate license or external control plane for Pure Fusion, and it's fully backwards compatible, so it doesn't break any integrations, as well as it's protocol agnostic. So whether you're Fiber Channel, iSCSI, NVMe across the board, or you're doing file and object, Fusion is going to be able to take care of all those. And you can see here, really what it does is let you create a fleet of Pure arrays and then deploy new workloads across that fleet. So this really can be from a single array to tens of thousands of arrays if need be, but it makes a consistent deployment model. Instead of having to go through 5 arrays and provision volumes, and even how you can set IOPS around those, different bandwidth limitations around those. Now we can deploy those consistently across the fleet. So that's kind of what this picture is showing here. We can even add billing ID labels. So if you ever wanted show back or charge back capabilities, you can add them into a billing label across the fleet again. So this is kind of what it looks like visually. The reason I show this picture is the differentiator here is there's no centralized control plane. So that was one of the pieces of feedback we got previously, is that a SaaS-based control plane means I need to have something in the cloud. And if the cloud goes down, I no longer have that control. So what this is doing, there's no extra licensing or fees. We don't upcharge for this feature. It will just show up on Pure Arrays in one of our next updates. And so you'll see Pure Fusion on the left side of your Pure interface. And it'll essentially be on every array. So any array in your entire fleet can be an endpoint to manage every other array in the fleet. So no longer do you have to go log in to all of the arrays, like I said. And if for some reason one of those went down or you lost a site, you could log into another array and still manage all arrays in the fleet. So like this shows here, whether it's on-prem, on-premises, up in the cloud, across all the Pure arrays, whether it's FlashArray or FlashBlade, and then all of the applications that you run. You'll be able to manage them with Fusion across the board. The next big exciting thing we announced, and this is Pure Platform AI Copilot. And this is a first of its kind in our industry. So this is going to be a new way to manage and protect your assets and your fleet using natural language. So you can see here AI Copilot. Think of all the large language models we've been hearing about lately, the chat GPTs of the world. We are bringing that to Pure Storage, to your fleet as a way to manage it. So now instead of going through, we have Pure One, our our monitoring and alert system, which brings in all the data. And now instead of having to go through that and look at the data, you can simply ask AI Copilot, what is my largest volume? What array is utilizing the most CPU right now? Questions like that. How long until I need to add more storage to this array? So now we're going to be able to use natural language to get insights and business intelligence from our fleet of arrays and our data. So it's really going to, there was a demo, I want to say, this is really amazing, even though I don't have the demo to show it, but they showed it at Accelerate. You can go watch those videos of some of the examples of what the questions were asked and the responses that came back. So not only can it do those simple ones that I talked about, but it can also help guide teams through complex management issues. So we can think about, like I mentioned, Pure One is our monitoring and alert system. So you can think of Pure One has all the insights, all the data. Fusion that I just talked about is how we can be actionable, right? We can go take action across the arrays. So AI Copilot is really the brains that's going to take that data from Pure One and make it actionable via Fusion. So today it's going to be where you can ask questions, get some feedback, and tomorrow it might be where it says, hey, we suggest you take this action on this array. And you could take it or say, go ahead and do that for me, and have that action taken on your behalf, so that you can easily manage your entire fleet, like I said. And then the one of the last big announcements on this side that we talked about was our 150 terabyte direct flash modules. So direct flash modules, talk about those a little bit. That is Pure Storage. That's what we create as SSDs, as an easy way to say it, right? We don't buy off the shelf SSDs. We build our own in-house. We buy NAND directly, and we build direct flash modules. The reason for this is SSDs are really built as a kind of a stopgap from old spinning disk. They still speak to the systems the same way as spinning disk. They have DRAM limitations and motherboards on them to be a conversion layer, right? We moved that intelligence all up into the OS layer. So not each disk is managed individually. The entire array is managed up at the Purity OS layer. Lets us do a lot more on the whole. It actually lets us see more into NAND than an SSD would. You have to wait for an entire SSD to fail to look at it, go see what happened. We can actually see every NAND cell within a DFM and know if one cell went bad, for instance. So with that being said, we have continued to innovate on these, make them larger and larger. Last year, our founder Kaz announced a 75 terabyte direct flash modules. Those are already out in our E arrays and our flash blades and flash array E systems. And this year he got on stage and announced 150 terabyte DFM. It's just amazing to think how much storage that is, right? If you think about the largest SSD today is somewhere in the 30 to 40 terabyte range, and we're getting to 150 terabytes. And the reason for that is, like I said, we brought the smarts up to the OS layer, where most SSDs need about a gig of DRAM per terabyte of storage. If you think about that, on a 150 terabyte module, we need 150 gigabytes of DRAM, which is just, it's so cost prohibitive and size prohibitive. So we don't need those. We don't have that dependency on DRAM. And so we're able to make these larger and larger models. So it's just amazing. I can remember when I thought 150 megabyte hard drive in my, my 486 was huge at the time. So not only did we announce 150 terabyte direct flash modules, Kaz also showed a 3D printed version of 300 terabyte direct flash modules that he is preparing to hopefully announce as real next year. So these are coming very soon. I guess the last thing I would say about this is not only are they the efficiency from the NVRAM and DRAM perspective, but also energy perspective. These take the exact same amount of energy as the 75 terabyte DFMs did last year, and the same energy the 48 terabyte DFMs the year before. So as you continue to grow and data grows, you can upgrade from a 75 terabyte DFM to 150 terabyte DFM without growing footprint or energy consumption, right? Which is just amazing. And we will, at any time you grow, you can swap these out. We'll give you full credit for the ones you had before, and you can swap out to the largest DFMs that we have. And we also guarantee them for life. We don't come back and say, oh, like a spinning disk, and say, yeah, I had about a 5-year life expectancy, died, you need to buy some more. We will guarantee these and replace them for you. So with that, I'll just take a moment here. I don't know if I see any questions yet, Charlie, or if you've answered any, but
yeah, Chris, there's been no questions yet, but one comment that I wanted to make on the 150 DFMs that you have, you mentioned that you provide credit for that, but you could also upgrade with zero downtime, correct?
Yeah, great point. That's something that I mentioned, kind of glossed over at the beginning, is that non-disruptive upgrade. So yeah, thanks for that, Charlie. As you mentioned, whether it's going from, I said, like a smaller DFM to a larger DFM, or we upgrade the controllers as well, as if you need more performance, all of that can be non-disruptive. We can literally take out old drives, old DFMs, replace them with new DFMs, and business operates as usual. I actually have I'll share a little story now that you brought that up. My first big interaction with Pure Storage, I was at a resale partner myself and went to a hospital in the middle of the day at lunchtime. It was about 12:30 in the day, and we were replacing not only their drives, but the model. We went from an FA420, which is a very old Pure array, to one of the newer M arrays. So we changed the platform and upgraded their drives at a hospital in the middle of the day, and nobody knew anything happened. I was shaking and scared, and it worked perfectly, right? The first time you hear that or see it, it's almost unbelievable. But I get that feedback from CTOs and CIOs all the time that said, yeah, my team said we could do it in the middle of the day. And I said, no way you're doing that. And then they do it, and the confidence comes, right? And Pure Storage can do that over and over.
Yeah, and along those lines, Chris, we have a client, or several healthcare clients, but we have one in particular I'm thinking of that we did the first upgrade. They didn't trust it because they had traditional storage platforms. They didn't trust it, so we did it after hours on a weekend. It was a hospital. Mm-hmm. And after the first one, they gained so much confidence that they just started doing those at like 10 o'clock in the morning. They would do them as any other scheduled maintenance, and it was no big deal. Even as you mentioned, upgrading controllers and going from older to newer generations of the platform, which is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's tons of success stories like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a paradigm shift, right? In the way you think about that. I spent a decade working in the public sector, um, and you almost never get a maintenance window, right? They want a maintenance window because there's downtime. But when you say, "Hey, I need a maintenance window," there's always something critical that needs to run. So that's hard to find. So being able to do it at any time with no downtime and no disruption, right? It doesn't even perform. It's not even less performant while we're doing that, right? So that's what we mean by no disruption, no downtime, same performance, and you keep ticking along. So thanks for that, Charlie. All right. So talking about accelerating AI success in the enterprise, we have now brought to Evergreen One an AI option, and I'll talk more about Evergreen One. Like I said, it is our underlying as a service offering that we give at Pure Storage. So it used to be based on consumption, somewhat some performance. We have different levels of performance and consumption. Now we're doing it for AI. And what this means is that you're going to pay for storage based on the performance you need, right? So we still have all the other options, but in AI, we saw that there was a miss where you might say, well, I think I need, 100 terabytes of data. Um, Maybe half of that's being used, maybe less than that, maybe all of that's being used. But we were seeing customers have GPUs sitting there idle that could work and help in their AI workloads, but they didn't have the storage performance to drive that. So now you are going to be able to say, I want this much bandwidth at a gigabyte per second rate, and we will ensure that we meet that from a Pure Storage standpoint. So this works across the board with NVIDIA's OVX server, DGX base pod, which we've had certified for a while, and then the SuperPod, which we just announced, I think is my next slide here, that should be fully certified by the end of the year. But this means being able to do like I said, AI at a performance level that you can guarantee. And all of this is SLA driven. So if for any reason it's not meeting those SLAs, Pure Storage will come out and ensure we do, whether it means scaling up to more performant arrays or scaling out to meet that performance, but all at the same cost to you based on the performance you require, right? So with that also came the NVIDIA DGX SuperPod certification. So this is the SuperPod. I may get these numbers wrong, but I believe a base pod goes from 1 to 30 nodes of AI nodes, basically with GPUs in those and the storage behind them. And then the SuperPod is for the much larger. We've actually we got a lot of feedback that we have customers that have to go more than 30 nodes, right? And so that's what SuperPod is for the very large deployments. So this is the future-proof AI performance. Like I said, should be fully certified at the end of the year. And then again, whatever performance you need for your SuperPod, you can purchase from Pure Storage based on that and have it fully SLA driven. And then another thing we announced around AI clusters is secure application workspaces. So what this is, we are bringing secure multi-tenancy to the fleet across the arrays. And a secure application workspace means you can have fine-grained access controls through your container deployments or any application. So we're taking that container management, mixing it with secure multi-tenancy, and allowing you to have governance tools and policy controls over that in their own secure application workspace. So no longer having to need maybe a separate array for a separate group or a separate application. They can all be within your fleet, sharing the underlying pool of storage, but be fully secured from each other, whether that means access or management to those. All right. So it's some on the AI there. I don't know if there is any questions. Anybody has any questions about the AI? There's a lot of, obviously, it's a big what do I want to say, big key topic that we hear a lot about these days, is coming up a lot. Kind of, it's interesting to me because a lot of the things that we used to call ML or business intelligence, right, is getting called AI. So some of it is just a rebranding of what we've done before, and some of it is really bringing new inference and insights to our businesses. So.
Chris, this is a question I had, but no questions in the Q&A yet. But the superpods that you referenced and the AI components and these new announcements, are these built upon AIRI or a different platform within the Pure ecosystem?
Yeah, they can be AIRI. So AIRI, which is our AI ready infrastructure, is they can be on that. So that's basically like a converged infrastructure that we build with NVIDIA, Pure, and Cisco. Or it can be, other ways of doing it. So for instance, like the NVIDIA OVX server is kind of like a white box, white label version of that, right? That you could build. But yes, it's going to have that certification across the board. All right, excellent. So moving into some cyber resiliency and the new capabilities we've brought there. And as you can see, these are AI and SLA driven as well. So some of the critical cyber resiliency services, like I mentioned at the beginning, I was actually brought on to Pure Storage to be part of this team because it was growing astronomically. So we've had a really good foundation. Look, you put all your data on Pure Storage, it should absolutely be secure and protected, right? But we want to continue to innovate on that. So hopefully these terms aren't brand new to you, right? We call out that we are aligning with NIST 2.0 and the standards there to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover your data. So across the board, we've added some new features, and then we'll go through these kind of one by one on this next busy slide here. So last year and maybe a year and a half ago, we announced a data protection assessment. And I'll show you some examples of this here in a minute, but it's an assessment where we can give you a score, a resiliency score. We have now created a security assessment around that. Right? So you'll have a security assessment where we'll actually give you a score based on what kind of compliance you have, what kind of security protocols you have in place. So it's an easy way to optimize your fleet, right? To give admins visibility into whether you're secure or not across them. So that security assessment plus Copilot I talked about earlier, that Copilot, which is kind of that natural language model of getting information from your Pure Storage fleet, is going to be part of that security assessment. So you'll actually be able to ask it in natural language, what your posture is and what you should need. And so it can help you with your security posture as well. Not just simple questions about, how much storage am I using on this array and things like that. So we have enhanced our anomaly detection. So I talked about this. This is across security assessment, data protection assessment. Talked about the data protection assessment, which we added anomaly detection in based around data reduction rates. So you could see if your data reduction fell off basically because, let's say, someone encrypted some data, right? Which all looks unique now. We could alert and identify that. We have now added more to that and added heuristics to look at some different metrics to identify anomaly detection. And I'll talk about that a little more here in a minute. We enhanced our cyber recovery SLA. So we announced a ransomware recovery SLA last year, and as part of our SLA agreement. So this is I was actually at Accelerate last year when we announced this, and we got a lot of interested parties come talk to us after we announced it. But basically what that does is if you get hit by a ransomware attack and then you have legal or auditors that want to come in and audit the data or audit the arrays, a lot of times I had customers come up to me and say, we had backups, but we weren't able to restore because they didn't want us to touch our production environment. So what we created is this recovery SLA. We will actually bring out a new set of hardware for you, a pure environment, give you a clean room to restore to. So you can now restore to new arrays, and then auditing and legal can go look at what happened in the background. So we went ahead and expanded that from not just ransomware recovery, we announced it to work across all disasters. We also announced enhanced policy-based self-service upgrades. So like Charlie was talking about, customers went from being very, very doubtful of upgrades during the day, right? We all do them on the weekend, and then we realize, oh, these are fantastic. Well, Pure help us do these during the day anytime. I can do them during my normal working hours. And now we're bringing self-service upgrades of software and features. And so now customers have gone even further to, hey, I can just schedule this myself in the interface and make it happen. We actually added a genealogy view to the Pure One management interface. So you can actually see every time you have done an upgrade, whether it's hardware or software. And I actually had a customer just recently tell me how fantastic it was, because his boss came to him, the director came and said, hey, when did we do this? Or what have you guys done lately? And he said, I was able to pull this up and show him the 140 software updates we've done to Pure Storage, with no downtime. So pretty fantastic. And then we announced a resilience SLA as part of our data protection, anomaly detection, and SLAs. So this one, not only, where the cyber recovery would bring you hardware to deploy to, the resilience SLA is something where, as part of the agreement, we come out quarterly and do a strategy session around security posture to help ensure that you're up to date and using the latest and greatest security techniques. So looking into this a little bit. So like I mentioned, I'm just going to show kind of a couple screens here on the security assessment itself, but we do have this as well as on a data protection assessment and a sustainability assessment. So if you have, we're seeing more and more customers have controls around how much energy they should be using, how much power they should be using. We report on that as well in Pure One. So there is a sustainability assessment too. So across the board, security, sustainability, data protection, you have an interface that looks something like this. It will show you all of your appliances there. Like you can see in the middle, those little hexagons with color coded, green means all ready to go. Yellow, maybe there's something to look at, optimizable. Red means, hey, caution, you're missing something here. And all of them give you a score. So you can see up there in the top left, there's a security score. It's based on from a range of 0 to 5, just to give you a posture across your a fleet to know about where you sit. Helps you with compliance and to streamline operations. So you can actually, click on any one of those little hex appliances there. I could click on one of those red ones and go right in and see why it says that I'm at, I'm at risk here. The other thing this does is like I said, we brought the anomaly detection to the data protection assessment. It's in the security assessment as well. We'll actually detect unusual activities. This now, instead of just DRR, we have it across, weird behavior around read and writes, latencies, volume and snapshot object count, data reduction, and more, right? So like if a volume just for some reason shoots up in size or shrinks, or same with snapshots. Say you're taking hourly snapshots as part of your data protection, and for some reason you went from 100 snapshots down to 10. Why would that happen? Right. And oh, by the way, we have something called safe mode to ensure that those could never be fully eradicated, even by a rogue admin. So you're always protected there from a security and data protection standpoint. But you can see a little better here on the right. It shows we're looking at, this one is kind of showing a DRR drop. You can see on the very right of that graph, data reduction rate dropped off for some reason. And now we'll give you recommended snapshots. Not only tell you that it occurred, but say, it looks like it occurred here. This is probably the snapshot I would go back to start recovering from, right? One of the biggest pieces of recovery is iterating through that process of, ooh, is that a good known good known data? I don't want to bring especially if it's something like a 0-day attack, I don't necessarily want to restore to the last snapshot and just have it happen again to in my environment. Right? So we want to go back to right before that kicked off, and lose as little data as possible. Right? I would talk about that a lot on the data protection team. Is, if we're a business and we have to go back 6 months to restore data and we lose that much data, are we going to stay in business? There's a lot of businesses that would say no if they lost that much data. So you want to really get right back to the back up and running as fast as possible, but with as little data loss as possible. All right. So any thoughts, questions on that so far, Charlie?
No, Chris, no questions yet.
All right. So
I will say from a security standpoint, the recommendations, as you said, kind of going back and understanding when is a good time to restore, that to me would be powerful for organizations with those recommendations, because you don't know in the case of the volume increasing in size being indicative of, some type of ransomware and them encrypting the volumes, being able to go back and say, okay, well, this is the last known good snapshot would be really powerful, and I think a great benefit to the business.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. Like I said, just being able to see that and go back, it is a huge benefit. Bring some business insight or intelligence that you wouldn't really think about. And again, I would, something that I would point. I mean, didn't intend to go down this path, but since you brought that up, I never pitch it as a front end security protection tool, right? You still need your security thing, security in place, intrusion detection systems, things like that. We don't pitch the anomaly detection as a stopper. It's a way to help restores, right? It's a way to help get back up and running. So you still want your security posture up to date, and that's what the security assessment's there to help with. But looking at that, oh, you did get hit, something got through, or something changed. Where's the best place to go back? So it's really great for recovery and getting back to normal operations.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it's like we put all of those other security components in place to secure what really matters, which is the data that is the actual asset that they're trying to get to. So by having a mechanism, if all else fails, right, now I know exactly where I need to do to recover quickly and get my business back up and running.
Yep, exactly. And that's why I love to, talk about safe mode, because even in the worst infiltration of your environment, right, with safe mode, like I said, doesn't matter if they got in with admin credentials or you have a rogue admin, it's going to protect all that data, all the snapshots you've taken, to ensure even if they destroyed volumes and get to the applications, you're going to have a safe mode protected snapshot of your data that you can restore and get back up. All right. So let's talk about storage as a service, really where Pure Storage is going, and a huge differentiator. I mean, we have many differentiators from our Evergreen model to our, NVMe and Purity operating system. But to be able to deploy that as a service is a huge thing. I was just at a tech summit in Bellevue where we presented, and one of the things we talked about is that, it's not necessarily that people want to go to the cloud or run to the cloud or go, ensure their data with somebody else's server, right? Which is the cloud. It's really that the cloud economics and that cloud operating model, the agility that it promises and the flexibility that it promises, that most of us want to go to, right? So if we can provide that now with Evergreen One, which is guaranteeing business outcomes and all these SLAs, to you on premises, right? Or in the cloud, or like I said, in a co-location. So Evergreen One don't necessarily think of it as, Pure Storage doesn't have its own cloud. It's not our cloud where it runs out there and we take care of it. You can actually have these cloud economics, operations, and experience on premises. So you still operate the hardware, treat it like you do in your own infrastructure, maintain control of your data, with all of the benefits of the cloud provided by Pure Storage, right? like on-demand charges, right? Expansion recommendations. Within Pure One, we even have, you can go do a modeling tool and see how fast your data is growing and what you might expand into, or when you might need to expand, right? Agility from optimizations, a new site rebalance SLA that we announced, so you can rebalance your reserve commits annually based on where they are, whether you want to move that data from one spot to another, and migration. And then we also have our performance SLAs and enhancements. So we and I'll show this on the next slide, but we actually enhanced that. There was 50% gain in the performance that our customers, again, we deploy this for you, ensure it via SLA. So if we're not meeting the performance needs that you signed up for, we'll come make that right for you without you having to buy more storage. And now those customers have gained 50% in performance just from our latest innovation. So again, thinking about data consumption, not necessarily capacity, and how we can control uncertainty and risk, right? Being able to move this data. If you purchase Evergreen One today, you can have an on-premises array, you could have one at a colo, and you could have one in the cloud, and you could seamlessly move the capacity between those and where you want to utilize it. So it just brings, like I said, that cloud kind of experience and flexibility to anywhere you need it these days. So this is the Evergreen One, our guarantees and SLAs across the board. So like I mentioned, this is whatever storage you need, whether it's block, file, object storage, and wherever you need it, deployed wherever you need it, on-prem, co-located, in the cloud, across these 10 different SLAs. So 7 of these come as part of Evergreen One, and now we've added some optional add-ons. Like I talked about, the cyber recovery SLA and the cyber resilience SLA. So part of that cyber recovery, you can purchase that as an add-on. So like I said, if you get hit, we'll ensure it's actually within 48 hours. We'll have a whole new set of hardware and environment on-prem for you so that you can start restoring. And then with that, you'd get the cyber resilience piece where we provide reports and remediation, and we help you look at your security posture quarterly based on that. So, going across the board here, we have performance SLAs. Like I said, if we never hit, if for some reason we aren't meeting your performance SLA that you agreed upon, we can make that right. Same with availability. We actually have a 6 nines uptime guarantee. We're actually seeing, we monitor with Pure One, we get all the heuristics data about arrays. And so we monitor the entire fleet of Pure arrays, and we're actually around 7 nines availability across the fleet. It's amazing to me when we talk about availability. I like to really distinguish availability from, say, durability, right? Where if I get 6 nines of durability, it means my data is probably not going to get lost or destroyed, unless you heard about the most recent Google Cloud snafu where they lost that whole company's data, all of it. Luckily, that company had backups. But it's one thing to say, hey, we won't lose your data, but that doesn't mean you could actually use it. Doesn't mean it's available, right? Availability SLA, this means 6 nines of guaranteed uptime. Not only do we ensure that it's safe and you aren't going to lose your data, it's usable all the time. There's always a buffer capacity. So if you ever you need so much data as you purchase Evergreen One, we have a buffer capacity so that of 25%. So if for some reason you have a spike, it's not going to be like, well, oops, you didn't have enough storage capacity, right? So we give that buffer. We always ensure that you have that if needed. And then energy efficiency, watts per terabyte. We're, like I talked about, we're seeing a lot more customers that are talking about not being able to expand their data center because of either space or energy or what they're using. So we'll guarantee that what we've deployed or what arrays you have only use so much energy. So much so that we announced recently paid power and rack commitment. And most people look at me and say, what are you guys, are you crazy? How are you doing that? Or why are you doing that? And one of the big reasons for us to do that was if someone does go to a cloud you pay a standard rate that you've set. You don't think about how many racks that's in or how much power it's using. So to give more of that cloud operating feel and environment, we take care, pay to power and rack commitment. We'll actually do it upfront, based on these energy efficiencies, tell you how much power we're going to use and what that commitment is, and we'll actually provide you a check for that. And then all the other great things, zero planned downtime, we've talked about a lot, upgrades and maintenance, no matter what it is, no downtime, no data migration, forklift upgrades. Like I said, I spent the first, 2 decades of my career as in IT or as a customer, if you will. And every 3 years, actually not every 3 years, every about 2.5 years, or less, you're thinking about what's my next upgrade, because you need 6 months to go find that next storage, think about it, get pricing, and then it's going to take you another 6 months at least to do that migration, get it off the old array, forklift it to a new array. All of that's gone. So no data migrations, no downtimes for upgrades or maintenance, and zero data loss, right? Data durability. So we guarantee not only the 6 nines of uptime, right, but we guarantee zero data loss as well. So all of that is underpinned by this white glove experience, right? I think I've kind of touched on it a lot, but the onus is on Pure Storage. We're there to help you, whether it's training, taking care of SLAs, coming out and helping assess the security posture of your environment, the reporting, all these things that we do. So really, it takes the worry and the onus off the customer or the business owner, so that you can worry about gaining business intelligence and pulling what's important to your company, and not have to worry about the underlying storage, just knowing that it's going to work and it's going to be up and be there when you need it.
Chris, just wanted to give you, okay, great.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, we're about 13 minutes away.
Yeah. So that really was the kind of the end there. Charlie, unless you have any other thoughts, or please, anyone out there, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, now's the time to throw them in the Q&A and we'll be happy to answer those.
All right, we've opened up capability of unmuting and talking through there. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask those now. I will say, Chris, thanks so much for the updates. One thing that I failed to mention earlier was, as far as the Grubhub gift cards, we'll get those out very shortly, unless they've already gone out. But we just wanted to get a count for the team coming on today. So.
Absolutely. Yes. And again, thanks for everyone for coming out, taking the time, spending some time with us. Hopefully that there was some new interesting things here. We're always innovating at Pure Storage. It's one of the most exciting things for me, especially at a storage company, right? Where most of them out there are just trying to make storage a commodity. The cheapest thing you can buy out there, where we believe, and our CEO, you'll still hear him say it, storage is high technology. We really believe that it can change the way you run your business and change outcomes for your business and the world over, right? And so that's still our goal, is to better those outcomes via storage. I like it. I like how Ryan said it, Pure Storage giving you your weekends back.
Absolutely. Okay, got a question in the chat. If somebody has a cyber attack, how long does it typically take to stand up a clean room environment for the restore? I believe, Chris, you mentioned that was 48 hours to get the new hardware and have things set up.
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces to it. Great question. Glad you caught that, Charlie. There's a couple pieces to it, and I'm sure all things, based on SLA, it's probably negotiable. But what we have and what we what we market is it's 24 hours for us to come up with a plan, right? So within 24 hours, we'll have a full plan for you, ready to go about how we're going to do that. And then within 48 hours, we'll have that hardware on site, ready for you to restore to, right? So of course, those could happen sooner, but those are the SLAs right now, the standard SLAs. So I hope that answered that question.
Chris, is that dependent upon certain platforms on Pure, or is it across all platforms with that capability?
No, that's across all platforms as far as Pure goes. It's only for Evergreen One at this time, right? So you do have to be an Evergreen One storage as a service customer, and then that's one of the add-ons you can put on there. So
great.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right. Well, in the spirit of giving you your weekends back, we'll also give you back about 8 minutes here. I did want to say our next Lunch and Learn is Tuesday, July 23rd, where we'll deep dive into the cyber resilience on the Pure Storage. I know Chris touched on some of the new features and things, but we'll get a little bit deeper into that. We'll send out the details very soon, along with the link. Thank you so much for joining us today. Chris, Chris or Ryan, anything else that you would add?
Thanks again for everyone for taking some time out. Yeah, please join for the cyber resiliency one, where they'll go into depth. And just thank you, Charlie, and thanks to Pinnacle for having us as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.